What's up, Bears fans? Harrison Graham here with another episode of Chicago Bears Now, coming at you from my home studio. There's some good news and some bad news on the injury front as the Bears are just 2 days away from taking on the Raiders in Las Vegas. We'll take a look at the injury report in a second, break it all down from every angle. But before we get to that, we are closing in on 131,000 subscribers. Would love to get there before kickoff on Sunday. If you want to help us out, if you want free and daily Bears content, hit that subscribe button. Plus, I saw we're like 80 subscribers behind the Raiders report in terms of new subs this week. Let's take them down. Subscribe today. All right, so let's get to the bad news first, as 3 starters have officially been ruled out. Darnell Wright with that elbow injury. I kind of thought maybe he'd play through it because he's played through stuff before. Clearly not able to, didn't practice at all this week. TJ Edwards still out with that hamstring. Hopefully we see him after the bye week next week. And then Grady Jarrett, who's played the last 2 weeks with that knee issue, not this week. Did not practice at all. Could not give it a go. So those 3 guys are out. And so when you think, okay, let's just break this down one by one, who needs to step up with each guy out? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of attention on Darnell Wright being out. Theo Benedict, I've been told, got reps with the ones at right tackle this week. He would be the natural next man up. You know, you could ask, what about Ozzy Trapilo? Well, he's listed as the backup right tackle, but he's been inactive. Theo Benedict has been the swing tackle. So I think Theo Benedict gets the call. He will start. Ozzy Trapilo will be active and ready to go if either Theo or Braxton go down. If Braxton goes down, you would slide Theo over to left tackle. Ozzy would plug in at right tackle. If Theo went down, you would just plug in Ozzy at right tackle. So I would imagine that is how they would handle that. Big task for the Canadian Eagle. I might do a full video on this tomorrow in terms of how you attack Max Crosby, because he lines up primarily against the right tackle. And with Darnell Wright out, that's big advantage on paper Raiders. Now, I like what I have seen from Theo in camp, in the preseason, in the snaps he has gotten here in the regular season. So I think he'll be able to hold his own a little bit, but you're going to have to chip. You're going to have to help. Max Crosby is one of the more dominant players in this league. So if you think that you can just leave Theo Benedict on an island and have consistent success, you're asking him to do way too much. So obviously, that is going to be a challenge to not have Darnell Wright and to ask Benedict to hold up against Max Crosby. We'll see how they work around that. TJ Edwards, nothing new. Noah Sewell will continue to play middle linebacker with Tremaine Edmonds playing on the weak side. That pairing's actually played pretty well together, so I think you're okay there with Hippolyte serving as the third guy. And then Grady Jarrett is out. Last week he had 5 defensive tackles active, so look for guys like Shamar Turner and Chris Williams to get a few more snaps this week. It'd be really nice if Andrew Billings stepped up and played a good game. He has not looked that good this year, coming off that injury from last year. You know, there were questions about the scheme fit, but we've talked about it this week. You don't want this to be the breakout game for Ashton Jeanty. Genty's only averaging 3.1 yards per carry this year, but the Bears are giving up a 31st in the NFL, 5.5 yards per carry on the ground. So something's got to give. I would guess somewhere in the middle is what happens, but hopefully it's closer to 3.1 than it is 5.5, because if Genty's flirting with 5 or more yards per carry, then Geno Smith can get going on the play action, and it could be a long day for the defense. So hopefully they can contain Jeanty in the run game on Sunday. So those are the bad news. There is some good news that we will discuss here in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you guys about today's awesome sponsor. That, of course, is PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy at PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the link in the promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. Once you play your first $5 lineup, you and I make decisions every day, but being right on PrizePicks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Listen, the way you play PrizePicks is simple. You pick 2 or more players, up to 6 players in your lineups, and select more or less on their stat projections: passing yards, receiving yards, rushing, hits in baseball, strikeouts, walks, goals in hockey and soccer, all kinds of stats available. You can cross over sports in your lineup. It's just got to be 2 to 6 players, and you pick more or less on the stats. And certain lineups, you can win up to 2,000 times your money. It's absolutely fantastic. For week 4, PrizePicks is offering a max discount for Jalen Hurts, more than half a passing yard. You can only use these max discount plays once per account, so choose wisely. I have used this one in a 3-player lineup, along with Rome Odunze's more than 61.5 receiving yards, and Ashton Genty, a goblin play, more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown. I do think he finds the end zone this week. $20 to win 95. That's what I got cooking for this one. Get going with PrizePicks today. Download the app. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. To get once you play your first $5 lineup, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, so 3 starters are out. The question is, will it only be 3? Because who we didn't mention there was Kyler Gordon. He practiced in limited action today, which is listed as questionable, which does surprise me. I did not think he had a chance to play this week. Now, if I had to guess, he's still more likely not to play than to play, but at least there's a chance. He did post on Instagram earlier this week. We flashed the photo on one of the shows on his IG story, a photo of himself in kind of a little loading bar in the bottom right-hand corner. So he seems to think that he is close. It would be huge if you could play him in this game. You know, conventional wisdom would say, well, you got the bye week coming up, don't risk it. And I certainly think there's some argument for that, and I wouldn't blame them if they did that. But Trey Tucker is a speedster that works primarily out of the slot, who I think Gordon could help slow down. And Brock Bowers out of playing that tight end spot largely out of the slot. Gordon's a guy who could guard him much better than a lot of the other options you have. So if he can go, I would not have a problem with him playing at all in this one. Colston Loveland with that hip, he was limited today. We'll see if he goes. That feels more like a game time decision. I expect DeAndre Swift to play. He's dealing with a hip injury. Maybe you keep his workload down just a little bit and continue to give Kyle Monungai a few more opportunities. We'll see if Roschon Johnson gets a look this week or not. But Kyler Gordon obviously is the kind of buzzword name that we're all looking at here because he's yet to play this year. He banged up his hamstring right before the opener against the Minnesota Vikings, and we haven't seen him. So, it's been right around 3 weeks. Hammies anywhere from 2 to 4. If it's a true grade 1, if it's a grade 2, it could be 4 to 6. So I'm guessing it is a grade 1 if he's almost close to playing. So we'll see if he gives it a go. That would certainly provide a lift for a secondary that's obviously been banged up. Jalen Johnson, who could be out for the rest of the year, certainly at least for a lot of it. Tyreek Stevenson's been up and down, coming off a good game. Nick McLeod is filling in the best he can at nickel, but, he's a backup journeyman type for a reason. Then obviously you got Nashawn Wright and Kevin Byard at those other DB spots. So we'll see what happens there. But if he can't play, as we discussed earlier this week, Brock Bowers, Trey Tucker, those two can be a problem. Those are, to me, the biggest weapons I'm concerned about in this game. Jacoby Myers is a bit of a threat, but I actually think Tyreek and Nashawn Wright can at least hold their own in that matchup with him on the outside. So we'll see how it goes, but bummer about Darnell. I will say, I wish he was playing. I am fascinated to see how Theo Benedict plays. Like, it was his push in training camp to almost win that left tackle job. Was that real? Was that fake? And the snaps he's played, he looks solid. Now, it's a big difference when you go out there and you're playing the whole game and you're lining up primarily against Max Crosby. So that's going to be a different deal. There's no question about it. But listen, this guy seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He seems like he's going to be up to the challenge. So excited and eager to see what happens there. And who knows, maybe Ozzy Trapilo gets some snaps, especially if he struggles. He'll definitely be active. They'll need Trapilo active to be that third offensive tackle. So there is that. One more piece of news, and then we will get out of here. The Bears did sign offensive lineman Troy Hill. Let me double check real quick here. Make sure I get this right. Trey Hill, who was with the Bengals 2021 to 24, served primarily as their backup center. He was with the Packers this offseason, but got cut on final roster cuts. They added him to the practice squad. Really an interior guy, so not really sure what to make of that one, but just wanted to pass that along as he has been added. 6th round pick out of Georgia back in 2021. So he's been added to the practice squad. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. Don't forget, predict the score. Bears Raiders on Sunday. We'll have a couple more videos leading up to kickoff, and of course, we'll be live on Sunday, 2 o'clock Central Time before kickoff at 3:25. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys soon. Bear down.